6. The balanced onset, staccato, eliminating the helpers, and flow phonation. How your voice works. Balance. As we learned in steps 1 through 5, the voice is a system with various components that must work in a coordinated fashion. Think of a system such as a car engine. If one component of that system, such as the piston, is not functioning properly, the system as a whole will not work. The system of vocal production is like that. If one component is not functioning efficiently, the entire system suffers. We train and develop each component of the vocal production system with the 8 steps of vocal development. Our objective is to coordinate and balance each component of the system so the voice will function reliably and efficiently. To review how your voice works, the vocal folds, the vibrator of the system, are located inside the larynx, or Adam's apple. Air pressure from the lungs, the generator of the system, causes the folds to open and close very quickly, releasing acoustic energy containing the fundamental frequency, known as pitch, plus partials, called harmonics, that are boosted or attenuated, or damped, in the containers of air in the pharynx, or throat and mouth. The vocal tract is the resonator of the system. Respiratory system is the generator. It generates air pressure. The vocal folds are the vibrator. They resist air, converting aerodynamic energy to acoustic energy. And the vocal tract is the resonator, a filter that boosts or attenuates harmonics to produce timbre. Good singing is all about balance. In good singing, the voice functions efficiently as a system due to the coordination of acoustic and muscular activity. There are 7 parameters of vocal balance that are vital to excellent singing. In SLAS training, one of our objectives is to develop balance in all things. 1. The balance of TA and CT activity. The TA and CT muscles are always working together. TA shortens and thickens the folds, and CT lengthens and thins the folds. 2. Resonance balance. Formants and harmonics. When a formant frequency is in the vicinity of a harmonic frequency, a boost of energy occurs. Singing becomes more powerful and effortless. We tune formants by movements of the articulators, the tongue, lips, and jaw. Timbre. Chiaroscuro or squilloscuro. Great painting in art presents a balance of bright and dark on every canvas, known as chiaroscuro. In the same way, a perfectly produced vocal tone will have a balance of bright and dark, known as squillo oscuro. If a singer is breathy, they will not have squillo in their singing. The oscuro, or the depth of the sound, is created with a relaxed throat space and low larynx, similar to the feeling of the beginning of the yawn. We call that the incipient yawn. We need both elements to create good tone quality. We need to keep volume in balance with air pressure control. To maintain even tone quality, a singer must maintain consistent vocal fold compression throughout the entire range, as the folds transition from short and thick to longer and thinner. Good appoggio is fundamental in maintaining consistent vocal fold compression. Balance of valving. That is glottal closure versus airflow. Valving refers to the closure or adduction of the vocal folds at the onset of phonation and how close the folds remain during phonation. Balanced onset. The manner in which vocal tone is initiated determines the subsequent quality of the tone. Firm glottal closure at the onset of tone is necessary for efficient tone production. The aspirate onset produces a weak and breathy tone. The heart attack can produce pressed phonation if combined with excessive air pressure. A balanced onset produces good chiaroscuro and healthy phonation. Balanced registration. Our goal is to develop balanced registration. With balanced registration, the lower register and upper registers sound equally strong, with smooth transitioning between the lower and upper registers. There is one unified, consistent, and powerful vocal sound throughout the entire voice. What is onset? The folds must be brought together to the midline of the glottis to initiate phonation. This is known as approximation or adduction. The vocal folds are adducted or drawn together from the posterior or back end of the larynx due to the approximation and rotation of the arytenoid cartilages, as the lateral, cricoarytenoid or LCA, and interarytenoid or IA muscles contract. The gliding and swiveling and rotating action of the arytenoid cartilages brings the attached vocal folds toward one another at the midline, allowing the edges of the folds to meet and leaving a slit along the middle for air to travel through. This process is also referred to as chord closure or medial compression. It is important to note that the vocal folds don't stay closed. They vibrate open and closed many times per second in response to air flowing up through the trachea from below the glottis. However, they must remain in close proximity while they are vibrating to create a clear tone. When we swallow, the folds close or adduct so that food or liquids are more effectively directed toward the esophagus or food tube. When we inhale, the folds open. When we phonate, whether speaking or singing, the folds vibrate open and closed in a recurring cycle. The effectiveness of the onset or initiation of a vocal tone determines the quality of the subsequent sound and thus is of primary importance. And here is a graphic of the arytenoid cartilages resting on the cricoid cartilage. And when they swivel and rotate, they bring the vocal folds together like closing the curtains. Vocal onset can be divided into 3 categories. One is hypoadducted. That's the aspirate or breathy onset with weak lung pressure. 2 is hyperadducted, a heart attack with excessively high lung pressure, pressed phonation. And 3, appropriately adducted or balanced onset. This is the healthiest way of singing. It requires efficient glottal closure and adequate lung pressure. The exercises in steps 1 through 5 address the imbalances of each vocal category. We used tools such as adducted onset and voice stop consonants for breathy singers, or the aspirate onset and SOVT exercises to help singers who overadduct. Now it's time to develop the balanced onset. And the graphic on the right, you can see the arytenoid cartilages and vocal fold adduction. The top image is the vocal folds at rest where they're slightly open. On the right, you see the adduction of the vocal folds during phonation as the arytenoid cartilages swivel and glide and come together. On the left bottom, you see the vocal folds during whispering where the posterior part of the folds is not adducting and there's a glottal chink. And on the top left, you'll see inspiration. That's what happens when we inhale air, the vocal folds abduct or come apart. Voce Vista, onset in action. Voce Vista software allows us to see formant and harmonic frequencies and strength. Voce Vista gives us a visual representation of timbre, onset, and vibrato. The following video shows a male singer phonating on various pitches and with varying onsets. The vocal fry helps us see where the vowel formants are located. Notice on high pitches, the harmonics are more spread out. This is because harmonics are integer multiples of the fundamental. When the pitch is higher, the harmonics generated at frequencies that are integer multiples of the fundamental frequency are correspondingly higher. Notice how a breathy or aspirate onset produces weak harmonics. This means the sound is anemic. The vocal folds do not adduct with this kind of onset. We need a firm glottal closure at the onset of sound to produce robust harmonics. It is also interesting to see that vibrato is a small oscillation of pitch below and above the fundamental frequency. A good vibrato is even in amplitude and rate. Tools for training voices. Staccato. The definition of staccato is, with each sound or note sharply detached or separated from the others. When singing staccato, we use the silent H onset. The silent H is midway between the aspirate, which allows excess air to escape, and the adducted onset or coup de glotte. The silent H encourages a healthy, balanced onset with no breathiness. Efficient breath management in singing is all about creating a balance between air pressure and the vibrating vocal folds. This balance is not static, but shifts constantly to meet the demands of vocal styles, volume, and intensity. Staccato helps singers find this balance while developing better appoggio. Staccato both requires and encourages good appoggio. Appoggio is expanding the lower torso with the breath, then slightly firming the lateral oblique and transversus abdominis muscles outward, subsequently maintaining that posture as long as possible. It's a feeling of suspension. The ribcage, sternum, and chest do not collapse. When we sing, we maintain the expanded position of inspiration, delaying the collapse of the ribcage, epigastrium, and torso. We neither push down nor pull up on the abdominal wall. Staccato helps us find just enough and not too much engagement of the core muscles, resulting in appropriate vocal fold adduction at the onset of phonation and better appoggio, or support. To produce staccato correctly, the singer must apply the tenets of appoggio. 1. Inhalation is low, with a 360-degree expansion at the level of the lowest ribs. 2. After inhaling, the lateral oblique and transversus abdominis muscles should firm outward slightly. 3. This position is maintained throughout the performance of the staccato exercise. Remember, when performing staccato, all the H's are silent. Tools for training voices. Eliminating the helpers. In step 6, at this more advanced stage of vocal development, we eliminate the tools or helpers used in previous steps. For example, students at this level should no longer need the adducted onset or coup de glotte used in prior steps for vocal fold adduction. Voiced stop consonants such as G, B, and D used in prior steps to encourage better vocal fold adduction can also be eliminated in this step. We also move past the temporary sounds, the pharyngeal, the imposed larynx, that require laryngeal position that is higher or lower than speech level. At this point, the larynx is relaxed and neutral, neither imposed nor raised. When we eliminate the helpers, we rely on a balanced onset to initiate tone. Teaching the step. The objectives of step 6. The student will develop the balanced onset. The balanced onset is neither aspirate nor the coup de glotte used in prior steps. This is the onset of the developed and balanced voice. Staccato encourages moderate vocal fold compression and balance between air pressure and the vibrating vocal folds. Staccato develops the balanced onset, neither breathy nor overcompressed. Staccato requires moderate compression and consistent appoggio. Staccato is very helpful for the undeveloped or unbalanced light lower vocal categories because it increases vocal fold adduction. For the unbalanced pulled lower category, staccato reduces overcompression. Staccato also develops better pitch control and register balance. In earlier steps, we achieved better vocal fold adduction using methods such as the adducted onset with open vowels and voiced stop consonants. At this stage of the training, we will progress beyond those methods to a more advanced method of balancing airflow and vocal fold resistance, staccato with the silent H onset. Note that this is not an aspirate H with excess air escaping, nor is it a hard attack. The silent H encourages a healthy, balanced onset. With the silent H onset, rather than the aspirate H, there's no perceptible breathiness in the sound. Efficient breath management in singing is all about creating a perfect balance between air pressure and the vibrating vocal folds. This balance is not static, but shifts constantly to meet the demands of vocal styles, volume, and intensity. As you will recall from our discussions about appoggio, when we sing, we want to maintain the expanded position of the body somewhat longer, delaying the collapse of the ribcage and torso. Appoggio is expanding and slightly firming the lateral abdominal muscles and then maintaining that posture a little longer as you sing. It is a feeling of suspension of the ribcage. The sternum and chest do not collapse as a long phrase is sung. Experience it. To get the feeling of staccato in the body, start by placing your hands around your waistline with your thumbs just under your back ribs. Expand outward with the inhalation and then say, as if you're laughing. When you perform this exercise, the onset is balanced, and the abdominals neither pull up and in nor push outward. They maintain the expanded position of inhalation. This is the idea of pushing and pulling at the same time, maintaining a balance between opposing muscle groups using antagonistic muscle engagement. The muscles of inhalation and exhalation are both activated. Working on staccato is a great way to achieve the flexibility needed for fast riffs and runs in step 8. Remember, in staccato, all the H's are silent. Teaching tips. Staccato. 1. Staccato means short and detached. 2. When singing staccato exercises, remember the onset is a silent H. The onset of phonation is neither the heart attack nor an aspirate. 3. You should feel a slight firming of the lateral abdominal muscles when performing staccato exercises. 4. Staccato exercises create a better balance between the air and the vocal folds. They encourage moderate compression. 5. Continue to use the palm of the hand on the chin and the thumb and finger on either side of the mouth to prevent spreading of the lips. 6. Continue to use the SLAS breathing belt for stability and support. Teaching tips: eliminating the helpers. With these exercises, we use vowels with a gentle onset, eliminating the coup de glot and voice stop consonant helpers of previous steps. Introducing the step, communication. In step 6, our objective is to develop a healthily balanced onset. We begin with staccato exercises and then eliminate the helpers, such as consonants and adducted onset. Beginning with step 6, we no longer progress through rounds, beginning, intermediate, and advanced. Instead, we are developing skills. Exercises.
Step 6. The balanced onset. Onset is the way in which a vocal tone is initiated. It's the degree of vocal fold adduction. The aspirate onset is too little adduction. It sounds like this. Ah. The glottal attack is too much adduction. That's too much. A balanced onset is where you have just enough and not too much vocal fold adduction. So in step 6, we're learning to initiate tone correctly with the balanced onset. We eliminate some of the helpful tools of the earlier steps since they're not needed at this point. For example, the adducted onset or coup de glot should be eliminated. We move away from the other helpers like voiced stop consonants like g, b, and d, and toward moderate vocal fold compression. The balanced onset is the healthiest way of singing. The vocal folds adduct just enough and not too much, and the resulting sound is clear, strong, unforced, efficient, and harmonically rich. We're also developing chiaroscuro, the balance of bright and dark resonances in step 6, as a result of the balanced onset. A relaxed low larynx, firm glottal closure, and good appoggio. We use staccato to help us find the balanced onset. Staccato encourages a balance between air pressure and the vocal folds. This balance is not static, but shifts constantly to meet the demands of vocal styles, volume, and intensity. Staccato also creates better appoggio or support. When singing staccato, we use the silent H onset. The silent H is midway between the aspirate, which allows excessive air to escape, and the adducted onset. The silent H encourages a healthy, balanced onset with no breathiness. As you will recall from our discussions about appoggio, when we sing, we should maintain the expanded position of the body longer, delaying the collapse of the rib cage and torso. We neither push down nor pull up on the abdominal wall. Appoggio is expanding with the breath, then slightly firming the lateral abdominal muscles outward, subsequently maintaining that posture as long as possible. It's a feeling of suspension. The rib cage, sternum, and chest should not collapse. Staccato helps us find just enough and not too much engagement of the core muscles, resulting in appropriate vocal fold adduction at the onset of phonation and better appoggio or support. As in all things, we want just enough and not too much support, and staccato helps us find that delicate balance. Remember, when performing a staccato, all H's are silent. In step 6, we also work on eliminating the helpers and flow phonation. This advanced skill is where we initiate a clear tone simply with the breath, rather than with coup de glot, consonants, creak, staccato, or any of the previous tools that we used to encourage better vocal fold adduction. At this point, the voice should be functioning well and these prior devices can be eliminated.
Staccato. eliminating the helpers. Test your knowledge. To review, complete the Test Your Knowledge section after reading Step 6 in the manual.
You can